Yeah, this page. Okay, so if you can see here on the slide, we have Microsoft data centers. On these data centers, okay, we have a cloud VM virtual machine. Now this virtual machine will have Windows Azure setup on it, runtime API, so that you can create your own custom code. And then you, at your desktop, at your end, you have Windows Azure SDK and Visual Studio tools required for it. And after developing your application, if you want to port it or host it in Windows Azure, you need to log into management portal, okay, and based on the subscription you can log in and then you can host it. And you can see everywhere there is REST based APIs. They are being used by the storage service and your service management service. It is also using the REST API. Okay, now in order to create your own Windows Azure application, you just need to go to File, say New Project, because we have already installed the SDKs, required SDK for .NET. So you will find Cloud template in under the Install templates. Okay, you just need to select Cloud because I'm going to write the coding using Visual C#. So I have selected it. In case if you're comfortable writing code with VB.NET, you can also select it. So I have selected Cloud. You can give any name to your application. Let's say I want to name it as Windows Azure application demo. Say OK. It will show you this a small dialog box, okay, and it will show you the various kinds of roles you can select. As I told you, you can select web roles as well as worker roles depending upon the architecture of your application. So you will find ASP.NET web role is there. Then in case if you want to use MVC, you will find ASP.NET MVC web roles and WCF service web roles. In case if you want to create a WCF, then you have worker role. In case if you're sure you need a background process in your application, cashier worker role, and Silverlight business application. So all these kind of roles are available. But because we are going to create a very simple application, I want to go with ASP.NET web role. And you can also rename the web role by clicking on this pencil icon. Just click on it and you can rename it. But right now, because I'm writing a very simple one, I'm not changing the name. Let's say OK. The important thing is to know what we get in Solution Explorer. Okay. Now in Solution Explorer, you will find two kind of projects. The one is web role 1 and second is Windows Azure App Demo. Okay. Now one web role 1, as I told you, web role always depicts the front end of your application. Okay, so web role here we have selected a ASP.NET web role. So when you expand this project, you will find all the files and folders are exactly like what you get with ASP.NET project. So it is exactly a ASP.NET project, nothing else. If you know ASP.NET, you can start building a ASP.NET website. The only difference you will find here is one additional file, which is webrole.cs, and this is required for initializing your web role. So when you execute your application, the control will first come to this particular file, and it contains all the callbacks method. Let's say if you want to write something or you want to override method for on start event, you can write that code here. Then there are other callbacks method like run or stop. So you can override those methods according to your requirement also. And this web role, it extends from role entry point. If you put your cursor over here, you can see it saying provides callbacks to initialize, run, and stop instance of the role. Okay, so it is actually required to initialize the role instance and stop the instance, or in case if you want to write anything under the run event. So this is the only file, additional file you will get inside the ASP.NET project. Now coming to the second project we have, this is our actually Windows Azure project. Okay, and this contains nothing, everything related to configuration, and you will find two kind of configuration files. One is the cloud-based. So use cloud-based only if you're putting or hosting your application in cloud, or otherwise the local configuration file. Now local configuration file is here because when we develop a Windows Azure application, you have provision to run it locally or test it locally, and this is recommended also. So after developing, you need to test and debug it and just find it out like it is working perfectly fine in local environment, and once it is running or giving you the output as per your expectation, or if it is giving you the desired result, only then migrate it to cloud. So I'm going to open up this local configuration file, and you will find the name of service name is the same name that you had given to your solution, the web role one, because I had not changed it. Instance count, yeah, here you actually provide the number of instances you want to configure for your app. Configuration setting, it is all about diagnostics information. Okay, when you run your Windows Azure app, it shows the diagnostic information. If you want to store it for later purpose, you can store it in your development storage. Now here when I say development storage, that means it is actually using the SQL Express edition of the local system. And if you open up the definition file, it is containing the information related to binding and the endpoints being used by your web role. Okay, so this is the endpoint 1, and it is using HTTP protocol. 80 is the port number. Now there is a difference between configuration and definition file. The definition file, it is a part of your package. Okay, it is a part of your package, so you cannot make changes to the definition file after hosting your application. Okay, you can make changes to configuration file because it goes with package. So you can make changes to configuration file, but you cannot make changes to definition file. Now you might be thinking that you have to make changes to these file, and these file they are in a XML format. No, you can directly double click on this web role 1 here inside the roles folder, and this will open up this wizard. So first is configuration, and if you want to configure instances for your app, let's say 3, you can mention it here. It also provides you the option to select the VM size. Okay, so the VM size will be double for double of small for medium, double of medium for large, double of large for extra large. So you can select and you can get the configuration information if you click over here, this link, and HTTP endpoint it is using. And here we have actually enabled that I want to store the diagnostics information in development storage. And settings will keep the information about the connection string because you're storing the diagnostics information in your development storage, so you need a connection string for that. That is why there is a connection string. Now if you go back and disable it here, then it will not show you anything here. Okay, the moment you will select it, it will start appearing here. Endpoints, it is the same endpoint for your app, web role. We are not using any local storage or certificate or network kind of thing. So we have just made one change here, that we just need, which we just increase the instance count, okay, here. So, or let's say just remove the enable diagnostics, save and close it off, and you can open up your configuration file and check. You will find the configuration settings information has been removed from here. Instance count has been increased to 3. Now if I want to go back the same configuration that we had earlier, so we can double click on web role 1, we can change it back to 1, we can enable the diagnostics, we can save it back, close it off, and you will find the configuration file is again, information is again here, and the instance count is 1. Okay, now we will go and quickly design the application. So for that, I'm going to get the code from here because it will help us to save our time. Say copy, and inside the default ASPX. I'm going to paste this code, and this is a very simple code I have placed. Okay, click on design and you will find I have